Hello and welcome to the Vanguard of Light. Today we're going to be talking about why manifesting doesn't work for me. And this is going to be a part one. We're going to start off with a little story about a little kid called Alex. And so Alex really, he saw a picture of an alligator, right? And really became infatuated with alligators, right? So he'd always tell his parents, his mom, his dad, like, I want to see alligators, I want to see alligators, I want to see alligators. And being good parents, they took him to a zoo to see alligators. But it was like the weirdest thing because they went to the zoo specifically to find the alligator exhibit. And Alex just didn't seem to be that excited about it, right? He kind of almost seemed down. He was just kind of like, well, It was kind of odd because he was super passionate about like alligators. I want to see alligators. I want to see alligators, right? But they go see the alligators. He wasn't too excited, right? And they come back, and then Alex keeps expressing like, I really want to see alligators. I really want to see alligators. I really want to see alligators. So his parents next week go to the zoo again, specifically go to the alligator exhibit. But Alex wasn't too impressed with the alligators, right? He was kind of like, just like, oh, almost like it was a hassle almost of like, man, why don't I get here? No, like typical little kid fashion. Just, oh, no, right? And the parents kind of getting confused. But then, next week, Alex once again is like, oh man, I just want to see alligators so bad, right? And his parents like, well, we could go to the zoo again. He's like, oh, can we see alligators? And they're like, yeah, of course we can see alligators, right? So we go to the zoo again, and they go to the alligator exhibit, and they were going to do an extra like training on alligators. So they make sure to get that because Alex wanted to see these alligators so much. But same thing, it was just kind of like he wasn't that engaged with what was going on with the alligators, and their parents were really kind of weird about this, right? So lo and behold, this pretty much goes on for a whole year, where Alex is super excited about alligators, and they're like, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to see alligators. I want to see alligators. But every time they go to the zoo, it doesn't seem like he was that engaged with the alligators. And they're just like, this is really weird. And then towards the end of the year, there was, I guess, not like traveling zoo, but kind of like a traveling zoo from China, right? And so his parents were like, well, do you want to go to this traveling zoo? Because he's like really always asking about alligators. And Alex like, are there going to be alligators? Will I see alligators? And they're like, well, they're not really going to be alligators. They don't bring alligators, but there'll be other really cool animals. Maybe you'll like that. And he was kind of like, okay, fine. I really wanted to see alligators, but okay, we'll go. So, they go to the zoo, and they had pandas. And oh my gosh, Alex freaks out. He's like, alligators, I love them. That's what I've been wanting to see this whole time. And then their parents got it. They're like, oh, wait, those aren't alligators. Those are pandas. See, Alex missed up the definition. For whatever reason, he saw a picture of a panda, but somehow thought that's what an alligator was, like that pandas were called alligators. So the definition was all messed up, but what Alex really wanted was to see pandas, but he had the word alligator, and he spent a year seeing alligators when all he really wanted to see was pandas. So Alex is super excited. He's over the moon. He finally got to see pandas, which were his alligators. And this is an example of a misdefinition. And that's what happens with manifesting. There's like a misdefinition where they're like, oh, I'm great at manifesting. Oh, I manifested this. I really focused on it. And, in 2 or 3 months, I manifested, maybe something small. Maybe not their big thing, but they manifested, oh, I manifested this thing, and I manifested that thing. And where the misdefinition is like kind of like, oh, well, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, is that you're always manifesting. Like, when you wake up in the morning, that mood that you have in the morning, that's part of your manifestation. When you go to sleep, that's part of your manifestation. The bed you sleep in, the car you drive or don't drive is your manifesting. The house you live in or don't live in is your manifesting. All of that is manifesting. That bad mood you're in, that's part of manifesting. That relationship you have or don't have is part of manifesting. It's kind of like, it's almost like the manifesting is like this awesome, amazing thing, but all the other stuff isn't. But that is all part of manifesting. And that's where one way it really goes off track is this misdefinition, kind of like with Alex, of thinking that like, oh, alligators were pandas, and he was never quite able to get to alligators. It's the same thing where we don't pay attention that it's all manifesting. So we kind of like, we're continuing to manifest all the stuff we don't like and not seeing that of like, well, what are we doing that's manifesting all this stuff? Because it's like you're doing all of that, and then you're like, you got this one piece of good, and you're like, why isn't this good not showing up? Well, what's causing you to actively manifest all of this? Because if you put all your energy to manifest what you don't want, there's not much energy left to manifest what you do want. And it's really about starting, like, why it doesn't work is like, well, where am I? All this stuff that I don't want to take responsibility, that I don't like in my life, well, that's part of your manifesting. And it's kind of rewiring of like, okay, what am I doing that's creating that to be manifested? Because that's all because think, if you got this much in your life that ain't working for you, how much energy is tied into that? How much of your spiritual energy is creating that? Is realizing that's part of the manifestation. And that like, oh my gosh, I could just take some of these pieces out, have less of that, and now I've got energy to manifest what I do want. So that's just part one of getting the right definition on manifesting. Because if manifesting is thought of like, oh, it's only these positive, onesie twosie things that I want, and why is my manifesting not working? It's a misdefinition. It's like looking for a panda but calling it an alligator, like Alex was doing, as opposed to realizing everything in your life, and I mean everything, is part of your manifesting. You're always manifesting. Something is getting manifested. So realizing manifesting is always working. Like, it's not like, oh, work sometimes doesn't work. No, it's always working. You just got to start looking like, oh, but what am I manifesting? And how much of it is what I don't want? And what could I do to start not doing what I don't want, which then frees up energy to do what I want, to get what I want. Because I took some of the energy, some of my intention off of this stuff, however I'm creating it. Because if I'm doing 100% what I don't want, there's nothing left. There's nothing left to do what you do want. You got to stop. At least take 25%. Now you got 25% going to what you do want. And eventually get that down. And then you start really manifesting what you want. So that's part one of, why manifesting goes wrong, why it doesn't work for you. In part two, you'll find out how Alex almost missed out on a dream. So go check that out, where he was so close, almost missed it out because of number two reason why manifesting goes wrong. Until we talk again, have a blessed day or a blessed night.